Good day, everyone. I'm David Foreman, aka the Herbal Pharmacist, and yep, today I'm going outside the Herbal Pharmacist box of tricks, actually, to talk about one of my favorite dietary supplements, Omega-3s. We're doing this recording as part of a series of podcasts via Barrington. So if you want to learn more, you can reach out to your Barrington rep for more information on this podcast, or you can go to the website to see what podcasts you may have missed in the past, and even subscribe to the ones that are coming down the road. Today, I said we're going to talk about one of my favorite things. Actually, in my world, omega-3s are one of the 4 supplements I think people should take daily. So there's 4 basic things foundationally, and omega-3s are that important. I feel like you shouldn't miss it any day. And today I've got Chris Hachey with me. Chris Hachey works with GC Rieber, and we're here to talk about their VivoMega and why I have to throw you in there, Chris. It's a we think it's the best omega-3 ingredient in the marketplace and should be considered in your next product formulation. So Chris, thanks for being here. Why don't you give us a quickie on you?
Yeah, thank you, David. So yeah, I've been in the business for good or bad to say 25 years. Started out in pharma, and then over to the supplement industry. Started with a company called Ocean Nutrition that was based in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and they had quick growth back in the day, and so I started their European operations, so EU, Middle East, South Africa. So that was a great opportunity for me. So worked with that company. That company ended up selling to DSM for $540 million. Lucky John Risley.
Yeah.
And after that, I put on consulting hat after that. So I work with companies like Solutex and GC Rieber now, and others, some Asian customers as well, to try to help them get their products up and going in the North American market. So I've been around a little bit. And like I say, now working with GC Rieber's team and looking at mostly my focus is US. We're starting to dabble a little bit into the Mexican market as well, just to see if there's some opportunities there. But yes, so the last 4 years we've been in the US, and again working with Barrington, and we're going through an unprecedented time right now for omega-3s. We have this global demand because of COVID. All manufacturers of omega-3 are really, working to the maximum right now, David. And so we're no different, but we have some. GC Rieber stands out a little bit because one of the things that they do, they've been around. If I talk about GC Rieber now for a moment, GC Rieber's been around for about 100 years, and it sounds unbelievable, but they really have been, and they're in a little place called Kristiansand, Norway, and they are now really focused on higher concentrates, mid to high concentrates. The market has shifted. Once upon a time, they were one of the biggest suppliers of 1812. But just in the last 10 years, our business and our market has grown. The pharmaceutical interests, certainly for omega-3s like Levesa, Omicor, Amarin, have brought a lot of attention to omega-3s and making them real.
Yep.
And so we've certainly benefit from those things. Is there a specific question that you'd like to maybe focus on?
I got a couple of things.
I'll keep talking, David.
Yeah, that's all right. No worries. Nothing worse than a soliloquy. I'm just messing with you. It's all good. You got to keep it real in these things. I'll let you catch your breath too. It's a good thing. I catch myself doing that all the time. So that's all good. So one of the things that, I feel as an outsider, I've been a consumer for a long time. And I've actually worked with other companies in the space of omega-3s in the past from Norway. There's an awful lot of players in the field, so to speak. And yet for some reason right now, I feel like GC Rieber is kind of climbing the ladder to differentiate itself from all the other. What do you feel is like what are some of the differentiators that you feel that make GC Rieber different than, company X or company Y?
Yeah, great question. So again, I've been around a long time. I've dealt with, most of the big guys, one way or another. GC Rieber is a unique little company. Like I said, been around for 100 years, really have flown under the radar. Norwegian company, conservative. Their specialty is sensory of taste and smell. So within the high concentrate sardine and anchovy fishing industry, they set the global standard on sensory. You think about GOED, governing body of
Yep.
omega-3. They have their quality standards. Well, or the new VivoMega, which is the brand of GC Rieber, that has 85% less oxidation. Then you have the next level of quality standard globally, which is IFOS 5-star certified. We are 75% again better on those sensory parameters than even that standard. So GOED, 5-star, and then you have GC Rieber. And GC Rieber and VivoMega is new. It's a new. They've never really promoted the value of what they deliver.
Right.
And they've been kind of careful, David, who they're not always going after the mass guys because they're always want to focus. So that means their product sometimes is slightly more expensive, but the value is certainly there.
Yeah, so to me, it's premium and it's worth something. And as a consumer of omega-3s, I actually do twice a year get my omega-3 index testing done. Mine is usually right around a 10, which is like, I tell people that means I'm part fish because it's that high. If people don't know what that is, you need to look into omega-3 index testing. It's a cool thing. But for me as a consumer, one of the things you said, or for me, if I'm formulating, let's just say that, if I'm formulating a finished product, and let's say I'm either going to use VivoMega by itself, or I'm going to add it to something else that still fits in the appropriate category. I want people to keep taking it every day. And if it tastes like crap or smells like, or in this case, tastes or smells like fish, or I'm burping it up, like those are things that deter me from, I'm not really feeling like taking my, so one of my omega-3s in the day was krill. And until recently, with companies like, well, we're not going to mention who they are, but I mean, it smelled horrible. You open the bottle and it was like, fish that had been sitting out on the sidewalk in the heat for, 5 days. And so I feel like that's probably, to me, like one of the biggest selling points that you have with VivoMega. And you kind of like brushed across it, but the fact that you're like, above GOED standards, and then above, I mean, you're setting your own standards basically.
Well, they really are. And, I mean, it's a total package. And, some companies are really good at, and they have a different business model. I mean, GC Rieber is still primarily a privately owned company. So, they're not promoting fictional or hype things. They're really real about what they do, and they don't deviate very easily. They're laser focused on what they do on that sensory piece, but they also, it's more than that, because our CEO of the company, Jen Roger, comes from procurement, fishing industry. They do a very good job. A lot of people, they're one of the largest procurers of omega-3 now in the world. We have one of the largest tank farms in the world as well. 31,000 metric ton tank farm. So that's, in the equivalent, in bad times, that's equivalent of maybe 4 years of crude oil stock. So,
wow.
And that's important to understand. And again, when they're supplying, their competitors who understand that they are actually acquiring the highest grades of omega-3 crude, because to have a good oil, you have to start with good, right? You start with the best, you end with the best.
Right.
And that's really what they do. Full traceability back to source. Where was the boat, longitude, latitude, what time, what was the catch, how long did it take them to get back to port? When they got back to port, so they can give you all that information, and everything is stored in separate tanks. Just in the new future, I mean, some companies are blending that, so there's no way they could give you that level of traceability.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it could have come from this boat or this boat, right?
Right. And then how that really equates to the value add in our industry is that you think, on our B2B customers, is that, they know in good times we're there. And when companies really shine are in bad times. like COVID, right? What happens in COVID, or what happens during a bad fishing season or a low fishing season, which just happened, and prices shot up 50%. Well, GC Rieber doesn't have to be reactive to those up and down fisheries with Mother Nature, because they're procuring across multiple areas. They're procuring the best, and they have their tank farm to secure that thing. So that's a benefit as well to our customers. Then you mentioned about, size, and I always joke about, size matters.
Yeah, right.
And,
It does.
And that was a great point you brought up, because, and even I made mistakes in that, because one time I was presenting to, and I'll say the Costco, and someone said, Chris, are you, with your high concentrates, are you competing with, the Costco or lower end concentrates? And I said, oh, no. I said, no, we're high concentrates, very different, blah, blah, blah. And I left the meeting thinking I did a great job, and it popped in my brain. I pulled over to the side of the road on the way back to the airport, and I called the guy back, said, I made a big mistake. And I said, I am 100% competing against those low end, low concentrate products that you have on the shelf. I said, because in our world, it's about compliance. And high concentrate, I can offer smaller capsules, right? So when you think in the US, what is it, 18 to 20,000 people a day are turning age 65, and of those people, they're taking 5 different medications already.
Right.
Am I going to add this to their portfolio every day and hope they're going to take that bad tasting fish oil, or maybe you have a negative experience, never take it? Or are they going to take that 500 milligram that's actually giving them almost sometimes twice as much EPA and DHA, and it's part of their daily regime? I think that's more, the compliance standpoint.
And it's funny because, like, when I was looking at setting up to do the interview, I like to learn enough just to be dangerous. But I find, as a guy that's going to interview somebody, the less I know, the better, because then I'm going to ask the questions that I feel are things that I want to know. Regretfully in this case, I already knew a lot just because I've been familiar with your VivoMega now for a couple of years, I guess. But that, for me, like, things that really stand out is that I can offer a company the ability to have that smaller capsule size without the side effects, we'll call it, that go along with why people don't take omega-3s. I got a smaller cap, and a lot of people have trouble swallowing it. Actually, it's funny. I am a consumer as well. And if you went into my kitchen right now and you opened up the one cabinet that has my supplements in it, I take up half the shelf, and there's a gap in the middle. And then my wife has a few things, but I suffer from pill fatigue. There are days where I'm like, the heck with it, man. I'm only going to take those things that are the most important to me. And of those, omega-3 is one of them. But if I have to take 3 or 4 of those gonzo capsules, that are usually the low end grade omega-3s, if I have to take 3 or 4 of those versus one, I take a lot of omega-3. So in your case, I might take 2 of those soft gels. It's still half of what I was taking, and it's going to keep me compliant with, and I'm pretty, pardon my language, everybody, I'm pretty anal about it. I'm very meticulous about, I'm not missing my omega-3s on a daily basis. I know physiologically I probably could, but I don't want to. So, that's a big, so you mentioned traceability. I'm going to shift gears. What about sustainability? That's one of the biggest questions I feel like that comes up in the omega-3 industry. I'm aware of, organizations that have really tried to shut down the fishing, et cetera. So can you address what GC Rieber's position is and how they address sustainability?
Yeah, sure. Again, a big part of what they do is they're sourcing multiple areas: Chile, Peru, Turkey, Morocco, others. So they're actively involved in how those fisheries are acting. They're making sure they're all compliant, that they have the registrations that's required. Again, they are procuring on a different level. They have a separate company just for procurement within our organization. Wow.
That's
right.
Huge.
So, and then, internally, they're reusing, their biodiesel is heating a couple of schools there in Christiansand, Norway. It's a smaller island in Norway. So they're, everything is recycled, reusing, but they're also actively working in that. And so they, they work with other companies, like with GoEd or with other, Peru is the big one. So they're actively looking at that. The MSC certified is a new little project they were hoping to finalize this year in Peru. They're, looking into that, working with them, making sure those things are happening. So it's an ongoing process. That's really part of who they are on a larger level, right?
Right.
They because they're doing that procurement, and because they're also selling to companies that are making even APIs, David, right? So they're doing the intermediate. So you start with really good product with all those sustainability measures in place to deliver them a high concentrate that they can go deliver those pharmaceutical applications as well to other companies. So it's an everyday focus for this organization.
So that brings me to, I think the last thing I really want to bring up is, so as the herbal pharmacist, I tend to be more of a purist than the average person that does what, actually nobody does what I do, so I got to go there. But, I'm kind of a purist on what kind of process does something go through, and what is it not only doing, what is that process doing to my body, but also what is that process doing to the environment? I literally just got back from Spain to tour a facility. In this case, they were making an aged black garlic, another good cardiovascular product right there, right? But they were, but the technology they used to create their finished product was awesome for, like, it was non-harmful to the environment. If anything, it was probably a green process. And I think a lot of companies nowadays, we're trying to look at what is it doing to the environment, CO2, carbon footprint, blah, blah, blah. But as a consumer, I feel like GC Rieber offers a couple of solutions for people that are, one, like me, concerned about, all right, that's a great extraction process you use, but what's left behind? So let's address that. To make it concentrate, it's not how it came out of the fish. So you're doing something to it. Is there anything left behind that I don't want?
Everything is recyclable. Even some of the byproducts are reused in farming. So they go back into farming, the fishing, aquaculture,
Okay.
all those type of things. Everything is there's very little byproduct in their production. The biodiesel, again, used to run the facility, and it's used to like heat schools or buses, in the community and things like that. So it is top of mind. The fisheries themselves, GC Rieber, again, their positioning is that quality standard. So
Right.
they need to really invest in those different fisheries to make sure that those sustainable habits are happening, and they're going to focus on those particular fisheries. So
That's good. It's good to know, because again, when I hear something say it's a concentrate, whether it's botanical or not, my first question is like, all right, so what solvents are left behind? And that's not what happens with you.
So,
and then you're saying everything that goes on through the process, it pretty much sounds like it gets recycled into a good way, like you said, feed in the fishing industry or
farming.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is that one of the things that I hear our CEO John Roger talking about it all the time. And again, I jokingly have said in the past, people talk about what they know and what they feel good about. And
Right.
he discussed that. You see him most animated about those things. So it's having a CEO and those sustainability being top of mind. It's just drilled down toward the rest of the team as well. And again, your production methodologies are absolutely important as well. So they use an enzymatic process, which is a low heat, so there's lower degradation on the oil.
Wow.
Again, affecting the taste and smell of the product on a quality level. They're one of the few companies in the world, and a lot of people will mix this up, but they deliver one thing that's important is when people talk about fish oil, it, and I know it. Fish oil is one thing. It's 1812. That's the only thing you can call fish oil. And then every other company, as soon as you start to concentrate up, you're re-esterifying, you're cutting out the glycerol backbone. We won't get into that, but everything else is omega-3 from fish oil from that point.
Yep.
So as you're, an understanding on how that works, but getting that from that TG to EE form, maybe we're getting too ahead of ourselves here.
We're good.
But GC Rieber is one of the few companies that can bring back the oil to 90 to 95% TG triglyceride content, which is better absorption into the body. And again, when we talk about quality of oils, some companies try to, because their oil doesn't taste good, they'll entericoat the capsules, or they'll try to make it dissolve deeper in the gut, which defeats the purpose of TGs and absorption in the body. You want omega-3s to absorb in the body. So providing a good tasting product is really important, even for that first one-time user. Like you said, if it's a negative experience, I'm probably not going to come back. We believe in that so much. You know, you and I have talked about this, but you know, this VivoMega sampling program, we say to people, taste the difference quality makes. So I'll send 6 different samples to our different B2B customers and stuff like that. Don't take my word for it. Every person that's sitting in front of you is telling you they're the best.
Yeah, right. It's true.
You take out, you know, my challenge to them is you take out what you think is the best omega-3 that you've ever had, and then let's take it against ours and let's bite in them together on a video call and see which one's right. Now, not everybody likes to bite into a fish oil capsule, but it's not a negative experience.
I can tell you that there's a lot of people who, I can tell you there's a lot of people who would probably drop some 4-letter words on you if you said like, hey, bite into your omega-3 fish oil product or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely.
I've actually done it. I can say that I have done it with VivoMega. And matter of fact, I was telling my wife today, I was like, oh yeah. And she's like, what do you have going on today? I'm like, oh, I'm interviewing this guy who, you know, reps GC Rieber. And I'm like, you know, I said they're omega-3, you know, from fish is one of those things where you could like just drink it out of the bottle if you wanted to. And she's like, that's just gross. I'm like, but that's the mindset that most people have. Because for decades now, we're talking back when I owned my pharmacy, so 25, 30 years ago, we have this idea that anything that's omega-3 tastes like and smells like fish. And I would go right there next to you and challenge. And it's funny because Chris, I remember that back in the day when fish oil omega-3 companies were trying to say, well, you know, trying to get by on the whole smell taste thing. And so they were adding citrus to it, which is what you know, when you go to a fish restaurant that has probably not the quality fish you need, it's not fresh, it smells fishy. So what do they give you at the end of the meal? They give you lemon slices and warm water to get that fishy smell off. But at the end of the day, you've got an oxidized fish, you know? And anyway, sorry, this is like 2 pastors preaching in the same choir, man. I apologize.
Well, you know what? I mean, and David, take it to another level. Think about application development. So again, just like when I say we source the best crude in the world to deliver, you know, the best sensory products, it's the same thing when you're doing application development. You're doing gummies, or you're doing, you know, the Concordix with Vitox in Norway, or others. It's a good tasting product. So you don't have to spend a lot of time masking that negative sensory. Huge. Awesome. You know, you talk about, you know, the time that in the cost, entericoating cost, masking that lemon and all those other things you have to put in the mass lower end products.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, Chris, we're kind of bumping out of time here. I want to thank you. I've done quite a few podcasts on behalf of Barrington, and I got to say, no offense to the other people, because if they watch this, they go, dude, really? But in all honesty, man, this was great. Great information. Very, very good conversation. I feel like the information, if people are watching this right now and you've been kind of wondering about, you know, using omega-3s, or maybe you haven't because of the negative things that Chris and I have shared, you know, this has hopefully opened your eyes up to, hey, you know, as a standalone, it's kick butt. It'll stand on the shelf. You'll have a higher concentration, smaller soft gel. God, who doesn't want that? I mean, I fell in love with it when I heard that. That's all I needed to hear.
You know what, David? Don't take our word for it, right? Send us your name, your address. We'll send you some just so you can try it yourself.
Right on. So, Chris, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. Just as a quick reminder, everyone, not only is this podcast, it's not the only podcast on Barrington's website. Check for lots of others. There's more to come. The topics have been a wide range of primarily the branded trademarked ingredients from Barrington. And thank you all for your time today. And Chris, thanks again, man.
No, thank you, David.